Hey there everybody, how you doing? I am Francis and welcome back to Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Well, kinda. I know that this is a challenge that I don't normally do, but I haven't seen anybody else ever try this, so I decided, why don't I be the first one to try this? What am I talking about? Well, the Can You Beat Sonic Adventure 2 as Mechless Tails, of course. That's right, guys. For today, I am going to be nicer to Tails. Tails is going to lead the Cyclone behind, and he's going to answer a very important question for us. Can he beat Sonic Adventure 2 Battle without his mech? Well, sadly, the answer is no. You can't beat Sonic Adventure 2 as a mechless Tails. But I thought it would be more fun to show you guys what he can and can't do, and I learned a lot about this game while doing this challenge. So I'm not going to waste any time. We're going to jump into this and we're going to start the hero story. We start off dropping into City Escape, and from here you'll notice a few things that are rather interesting. First off, unlike Sonic, Tails doesn't load in for board, so he has to walk it, which honestly isn't that much of a problem. Sure, it's a little bit slower than riding a board, but it's still very, very doable. Another thing I noticed in this run that kind of annoyed me, honestly, were the sound effects. When Tails jumps, he has the same landing sound effect that he had when he was riding his mech. And when you fly, you hear the hovering sound effect, and the hovering sound effect, oh my god, that annoyed me so much that I actually did this challenge without any sound. I was expecting Tails honestly to have the same sound effects he would have in the Chow Garden, but nope, that honestly wasn't the case. Anyways, putting the sound effects aside, there ain't much to report here. It's still the same very destructive stroll down the street. Honestly, I just find it kind of funny how Tails is just walking casually and just basically wrecking everything in his path. There's nothing that can stop the two-tailed menace. Anyways, once you get off the street and you come down here, everything's sort of, standard everyday business. Also, it's important to note that Tails has a lower jump than Sonic, so that's a thing. And the only attacking Tails has is this tail spin attack. And sometimes Tails would only attack while moving, so you're gonna see me take some damage, but besides that, yeah, City Escape for the most part is very, very, very doable. I ran into my first roadblock here. Tails' tail attack cannot destroy the crates. So I had to find another way. Luckily there was a handy dandy Omochao beside me that I could throw to break the crates, so thank you Omochao, for once in your life you were actually useful. And then after that, once you get past the crates, everything's back to standard business, and for the most part, yeah, there ain't much to report. Still just going for a casual stroll, walking down the street, and smashing anything in your way. Still kind of funny that Tails just obliterates everything just by walking at a casual pace. This thing here was rather interesting. When Tails grabs onto it, for some reason he can't ride it. Like, it just sort of throws him forward and he lets go. But that didn't really stop me. I could just fly over that and it wasn't really a problem. But still, I found it rather interesting how the pulleys just sort of didn't really do much. They just sort of just tossed Tails forward and he let go. And it's just one of the many things that work so strangely for a mechless Tails. Because mechless Tails is not really a character who's really meant for really anything outside the Chow Garden. Like, the Chow Garden's the only place where he's playable in this game. So he wasn't really meant for action stages. So this challenge was very, very interesting to see what Tails can and can't do. These stairs, by the way, are very, very long and kind of hard to navigate down. Like, when you play as Sonic, you normally wouldn't notice that because you just grind down the railing, right? But Tails can't grind, and you have to just walk and sometimes jump down because turning around the corners can be kind of awkward. You never realize how long these stairs are until you go down them as somebody who can't grind. I know I said that a lot when I did the randomized videos, but it's more apparent here during this challenge. Anyway, City Escape, yeah, as you can see, for the most part is doable until we get here with the part where you have to go under this bar to get to the part of the truck, and that's a problem. Tails only has a spin attack. He cannot do the somersault, so yeah, I couldn't get past here. I decided to try throwing Omochao into the fence. He didn't do much good. I tried flying into the walls, seeing if there's like any walls like I could flip through, like out of bounds myself, but no luck. All the walls were kind of solid. And this part was honestly very disappointing. Like, for the most part, it looked like City Escape was very possible. Here, I'm trying to get more height, hoping that I can go high enough to fly over the wall. But as you can see, I'm getting pushed down because there's an invisible ceiling. And here's the thing about playing as Mechless Tails in this game. Flying is kind of more like hovering. Like, you can't ascend or descend. You can descend when you let go of the A button, but once you're descending, you can't start ascending or stop your descent until you reach the ground. You don't have much control while flying, and it's kind of more like a hover. Like, your maximum flight height is going to be the height of your jump, and if there's an invisible ceiling like there is here, it just sort of just pushes Tails down, and you cannot get back that lost height. I believe that there was some way I could get past this. Like, there had to be. It was very disappointing to come this far with City Escape being, you know, run-of-the-mill, very doable, and then coming here. And I just can't get past the fence because I can't do a somersault. And I can't believe the first stage is unbeatable. I couldn't believe it. I was stubborn, and I tried to find ways to get through this. I'm trying to clip through that wall there. Like, I'm thinking maybe if I can't fly over, like, the walls on the upper ground, maybe there is a wall that is feasible, like, while you're falling down that hole, which obviously wasn't the case. And that's when I noticed this wire, and I tried to grab this wire to whip over the wall, but once I grabbed it, game crashed. This time, I decided to fly through the level, thinking that maybe, like, somewhere in the early stages of the level, there's a part where I could out-of-bounds Tails, but as you can see, there is an invisible ceiling that keeps pushing Tails down, so, well, this didn't really look good. It looked like City Escape really was impossible, but I was persistent, and I kept flying. But for the most part, yeah, not much was happening. I was getting a little discouraged. Like, I just kept getting pushed down. There's an invisible ceiling, and I don't really know why. Like, it's not like Sonic can ever jump up this high, but there's an invisible ceiling here. Anyways, I kept descending, and I noticed something. Here at the end of the skateboarding section, the ceiling stopped, and I could actually fly out of bounds. And here I was out of bounds, and from here, I just followed the level from outside the level, and I was thinking, okay, I can just do this until I get to the end, right? No problem. Once again, that hope has returned to me, and it looked like City Escape was once again beatable. Like, here I am just flying without caring the world, and as you can see, I'm just following the level from up above. Like, following the path that I would normally take. It didn't take long though until this plane kinda had a problem, and well, you're starting to see the problem now. You see, Tails, once you're flying in this game, like I said, it's more like a hovering and you can't ascend or descend. And since City Escape is a constantly going down stage, like it's constantly going down, there comes a point where Tails is too high up in the level that the level just sort of starts to unspawn, and you just can't see the level anymore, and you're just flying in nothingness. I was just flying over what looked like trees and a city, and I just couldn't see any of the stage. And I got scared. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know where I was going, so I just gave up and let go of the A button. And as I was descending, I noticed the level was starting to load again. Now, I was trying to move Tails in a direction, hoping that Tails could, you know, land in the level, because I figured landing inbounds and just being somewhere would be better than falling into the void like this. But I was too far from the level. I couldn't get myself in the level anymore. I was trying, but there was no hope for me. And then eventually, I was just here in the endless sea of clouds. And since I was out of the stage, there was no death point, so there was no killing Tails. There was nothing I could do. I had no choice but to restart the game. Like, I was just forever descending. There is no death point outside City Escape because they don't really expect you to be out here. Alright, so I returned back into the level, determined that there had to be some way I could beat this as a Mechless Tails. This time, I was trying something a little bit differently. Like, I noticed that, hey, the auto bounce thing was kind of working. Like, if only I wasn't too high up. So this time, I was trying to go through the level a little bit more casually, and every now and then, when I thought it was possible, I would try and fly and see if I could find my way out of bounds again. Like if I'm closer to the exit, maybe I won't have that problem again where the level just sort of unloads itself. So here I thought would be a great place to, well, take flight, and I thought maybe I could fly over the wall. But as you can see, no good. There's an invisible ceiling, there's invisible walls, but there's one thing I still could fly down, surprisingly, and that was the loop. I was thinking maybe I could just fly over, but once I got too close to the loop, it sort of just pushes me down. So you gotta go down that loop, there is no stopping this. And I'm still hitting the button to hover in place, but I'm still being pushed down because, well, this is a scripted loop, you know, where you just get pushed down. So if there wasn't a script on that loop, I'm pretty sure I could have out of bounds myself there because it didn't really seem to be a ceiling over that loop. It's just that once I got close to the loop, I got pushed down. Alright, so here I was trying a few other things. Like I was thinking if I landed on the light here, I could, you know, I could get more height and possibly fly over the wall, but the light is not a stand-on object. Like it has collision kind of like a wall, but you can't stand on it. It sort of just pushes you off. Honestly, after trying so long, like trying stuff here, I realized I wasn't getting past this, and I was starting to get a headache, so I decided for the sake of my sanity and the sake of this challenge, I was just going to deem City Escape as impossible for now, and just move on to the challenge. And keep in mind, by the way, that I said for now, because later on in this challenge, I actually learned something that actually makes City Escape very possible, but for now, I had no choice but to deem it as impossible and move on. After this, we move on to our first boss fight with Bigfoot, and yep, Bigfoot is very impossible as Tails. Like, Tails has no aerial attack, his only attack is on the ground. I was thinking maybe I could hurt him with my Tails, but nope, I just get hurt. Tails can't do anything against Bigfoot. This is an impossible fight, so I had to bite the bullet, deem this as impossible, and just do it as I normally would as Sonic and move on. So far, we're 0 for 2. Not looking so good, Tails, are ya? Moving on to Wild Canyon, which is the first treasure hunting stage, and this level is actually very, very possible as a Mechless Tails. As you guys know, this is the first treasure hunting stage, and as the first treasure hunting stage, it doesn't really ask for a whole lot from Knuckles, so yeah, it's very possible to do as a Mechless Tails. All the emeralds are either out in the open or inside of Badniks, so yeah, this was 100% possible. And if you can't find an emerald, you can just lose a life, and unlike in Adventure 1 where when you die, the emeralds stay in the same spot, in Adventure 2, they relocate, so if you can't get an emerald, just try dying and restart the level. But yeah, Wild Canyon, 100% possible. There was this one Master Emerald piece that was inside this box that Tails has been attacked. As you guys know, cannot break it. So I had to eventually kill myself, but I spent way more time than I honestly should have trying to get it. Like I thought maybe I could get Omochao up there and throw it at the box, but no, it was impossible to get the little guy up there. So I eventually just kind of took my life and had the emeralds reset. Honestly, after the rough start we had, it was nice to finally come across a level that was possible. From here we move on to Tails' first boss fight, which is against Dr. Eggman, and as you can see, something very weird happened and I don't know why. For some reason, instead of Eggman in his mech loading, Eggman without his mech appeared in this weird limpy state, and whenever I tried to attack him, the game crashed. I have a theory that with character battles, it just sort of loads your counterpart from the R story, so since I was Mechless Tails, it gave me Mechless Eggman, and I tested this theory by trying this battle as Shadow, and yeah, it loaded Sonic, and Sonic just like weird glitchy Eggman here. I mean, he wasn't glitchy, obviously, as you can see, but he didn't really attack. He sort of just walked up to you, and that was it. So yeah, easy fight. Impossible as Mechless Tails because it just crashes the game whenever you hit him. But yeah, any other character, very, very doable. From here, we move on to Tails' first stage, which is Prison Lane, which Prison Lane is 100% impossible. Like these first two enemies that you see here, no big deal. Tails can actually destroy them by flying into them. It's kind of weird that you could fly into enemies and destroy them, but you couldn't hurt Bigfoot. But after you destroy those two guys, The last thing preventing this door from opening is this beetle here, and there's no way you can attack him. Like, there's nothing you can do. I tried taking Omochao and throwing him, hoping he would fly through the bars, and, well, he goes through the wall, but he doesn't fly in the direction of the beetle, and I was thinking, maybe this is possible. So I tried this a few times, and I tried it enough times to rule out that it's impossible. You're not going to be able to destroy that guy as a Mechless Tails. So Prison Lane, sadly, is very much impossible. Moving on to Metal Harbor, and just like City Escape, Metal Harbor for the most part is very, very doable as Tails. This is the level where Sonic gets Lightspeed Dash. As you guys know, Tails can't do a Lightspeed Dash or do a homing attack, but those aren't really a problem because anything that requires following a trail of rings or homing attack off enemies, Tails can just fly over. So Metal Harbor, for the most part, is not really a problem for Tails. It's just sort of, you know, standard, ordinary, everyday business, not too much to worry about. This here was honestly my first real problem with this run, is that since Tails can't do a somersault, I couldn't get to the lift, and then I remembered that, hey, these lifts don't work for Tails. They don't sort of throw him up, they sort of just push him forward a little bit. I tried to cheat a little bit by flying over to the missile, but that's not exactly the missile launch area that we can go on, and I just sort of whip through it. So from here I tried to go a little bit higher, like going from up high. The camera was a bit of a bitch because it focuses down below, so it did flip me around sometimes, but yeah, no problem. Then I find another one! Another one that is much higher up, and oh my god, there was no way that was going to work. And then I noticed that ramp, and I was like, okay, I can't go in there and use the pulleys, but I can at least go on the ramp. So I sort of took a shortcut, and went to the ramp, and I could phase through the ramp, and went on my merry way, and for the rest of the stage, it was pretty much as you normally would do as Sonic. Remember how I said that, just like City Escape, this is mostly possible as Tails? Well, this is where that comes into play. Once you get to the missile, yeah, you get the timer, as you normally do. That's no problem, you just run up it as you normally would. Tails is a bit slower, but he can still make a run, but once he hits the spring and grabs onto the missile, game crashes. And you have to do that part to beat the stage. So just like City Escape, I had no choice. Metal Harbor is impossible as Mechless Tails. Maybe there's a way you can bypass that missile part, but I can't think of anything. If you guys know a way, please let me know. But for now, sorry Metal Harbor, but you are impossible. Up next was the iconic Sonic vs. Shadow battle, but just like with the Tails and Eggman fight, Shadow is replaced with Glitchy Eggman. There's nothing to talk about that I haven't talked about in the last character battle, so we can just move on. This battle is impossible. Green Forest, on the other hand, is actually beatable as Tails, but I'm not saying that it was easy to do as Tails. No, this level was actually quite a challenge, but yeah, it's actually beatable as Tails. It starts off kind of like, you know, playing as Sonic, like just ordinary run-of-the-mill stuff, just play it as you normally would with Sonic. Tails is a little bit slower than Sonic, but yeah, for the beginning, it's pretty much business as normal, you know, nothing really too crazy, nothing really too special, just play it as you normally would. That is until you get to this section, and this is when you run into your first problem. You see, the vines were kind of like the swings you saw in City Escape, like the pose. And when you grab them, game crashes. And that is the challenge of doing this level as a Mechless Tails. The challenge is to avoid the vines. You also have a time limit to worry about, but even though that Tails moves slower than Sonic, the time limit is not really a problem. The problem is the vines, because just touching the vines will crash the game. This time I decided to take a higher route, but as you can see, it doesn't really matter which route you take, because both routes take you to the same spot anyways. So you gotta fly around the vine instead of taking that spring, because the spring will just launch you into the vine, which, as we saw, crashes the game. So we fly around it, not really an issue, and then everything's back to normal, and then there's another one. Flying out here was kind of scary because, well, I just couldn't see any of the levels, so I kind of gave up and just let Tails fall and die, so that I could get more height and try again. This time I tackled this part again, this time jumping from the top. And I flew around for a bit, and I tried to gather my courage and not stop flying no matter what happens. And I flew around, hoping to find some more of the level. Wasn't having much luck. I was getting a little bit scared, but I gathered my courage and I pushed on. And I just flew around, see what I could fly through, see what I couldn't fly through, and then there I saw it. I saw a ramp and I saw some more of the level. And once again, that beacon of hope has returned to me, and I flew up to it, and I could phase through the loop, and I was back in the stage. And once again, I was feeling confident in myself. That part there took me a long time to actually get, because I kept getting scared, and I kept trying new things, and I just ended up getting scared and giving up. This loop, by the way, acted weird. Like, you run up the loop like you normally would, and then you just sort of fall down. You just have to try that a few times, and eventually you'll go over to where the springs are. I don't know why Tails just sort of falls out like a rock at the top of that loop, but he does. But just keep trying, and eventually you'll get through it. And here we come across another springs with a vine, and you know what that means. It's going to crash the game unless we fly, so we start flying, looking for some more of the level. And this tree here is solid, so tackling it's not a good idea. So right now I'm just flying around trying to see if I can find some more of the level. I kind of got scared because I was so close to the water that I just sort of gave up and let myself drown. Once I went back into the level, I didn't waste any time flying, and I flew the moment that I respawned at the checkpoint, and I flew around trying to find some more of the level. Again, flying in this is very, very scary because, you know, the level despawns and respawns, and it can get kind of scary because you don't know where you are, you don't know where you're going. And then through the corner of my eye, I noticed something, which I'm flying towards right now. And lo and behold, yeah, it was some more of the level. It was this section of the level, which is one of my favorite sections of playing this game. So yeah, we got back on track, and it's back to business as normal, and that's pretty much how it goes with Tails. Like, for the most part, it is running normal, and then you just have to fly and find other parts of the stage whenever there's a part where there's a vine, because vines crash the game as effective as Tails. In fact, I think it crashes the game as anybody who's not a speed character. I don't know, I'll have to play around with that to test it, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. This part is kind of scary because you know how there's like a series of springs, and the last one sort of just throws you in this like a vine that takes you down. And as you guys know, vines crash this game. So instead of hitting that spring, you want to stop yourself and you want to fly down without hitting that spring, because well, you know what happens if you touch a vine. The game crashes, and after coming this far, crashing is not something I want to see happening. I probably would cry. And right here you see the end of the level, and there's another vine, but you don't have to worry about the vine. You can just fly straight to the goal, well, for the most part. The camera does get a little bit weird here, turning it around, but well, that's just a theme of flying around as Mechless Tails. Because the camera is not used to you playing like the way you're playing. But yeah, you can fly over here to the springs and just bounce right up to the goal, and yeah, Green Forest is 100% possible as a Mechless Tails. So now that means there's 2 levels that we were able to beat as Mechless Tails. Good job, Tails. You're actually doing pretty well.
I gotta do better next time.
Moving on to Pumpkin Hill, which, as you guys know, Pumpkin Hill is my favorite treasure hunting stage in this entire game. But sadly, when it came to this challenge, it was my biggest frustration. Since Pumpkin Hill is a stage where Knuckles gets the shovel claw, it tries to teach you how to do the digging technique, so one of the Master Emerald pieces will always be underground, and as you know, Tails cannot dig. I played this level so many times, and I tried killing myself so many times to get the final emerald to relocate, but every time it just relocated somewhere that was underground and I couldn't dig to, so I could get 2 pieces. I got 2 pieces every time I tried this, but I couldn't get the 3rd stage because it was always buried underground. I gave this so many tries that at the end I had no choice but to deem this as impossible. And I did this about, I don't know how many times I did this, but at this point I wasn't using the infinite lives cheat yet, so I was kind of getting frustrated with having to restart again. I've been doing this for about an hour. I could only find at least 2 pieces of the Master Emerald. I couldn't find a 3rd one no matter how many times I died and restarted. So in the end, I just gave up and I deemed Pumpkin Hill as impossible, because no matter how many times I reloaded or respawned, the last emerald was always somewhere that was buried underground. And after a while, I was like, okay, this is impossible. I give up. And yeah, sadly, Pumpkin Hill is impossible as Mechless Tails. And it makes me sad after the amount of time I devoted to doing this level. Moving on to Mission Street, which is probably the easiest level to do as Mechless Tails. You don't have your Vulcan Cannon as Mechless Tails, but honestly you don't need it. Like, this stage doesn't really ask for much from Tails, so it is very, very doable. And this is the level where you learn how to hover, which, as you know, Tails can fly. So yeah, there ain't really much to report on Mission Street. It is 100% possible as Mechless Tails. Don't really have to do anything tricky, just go through it as you normally would. And yeah, not much to report about. Mission Street is 100% possible and is actually probably the easiest stage to do as Mechless Tails. This part I got stuck at for a little bit because, well, as you guys know, the pulleys don't exactly work as Mechless Tails. Like, it just throws him forward and doesn't really do much. And I couldn't get enough height to land on one of those things, so I had to basically just take a flight for a bit. I followed the stage from below. I found a spring that bounced me back on track, and from here there really wasn't any more worries to worry about. Just go on my business, and yeah, like I said, this stage is 100% possible as Mechless Tails. Doesn't really ask for much from you, so let's not talk about it anymore and let's move on. Aquatic Mine. Oh boy, here we go. As you guys know, Aquatic Mine was never my favorite Knuckles stage, and coming here as Tails, oh boy, this place was actually much worse than Tails. For starters, unlike Knuckles, Tails has no way of getting up to the top level, so he cannot drain the water completely. So since he can only have the water at full like it is now, or half, it's very limited as to where Tails can go. And I don't know if I had bad RNG or really what, but for me, the last Emerald Shard always kept appearing either on the top floor or somewhere where I needed the water drain, places that Tails could never go. So I tried this a couple of times, and I could only get 2 of the Emerald Shards at the many times I played it, and no matter how many times I had Tails drown, the last one always kept appearing either upstairs or somewhere where I needed the water drain, so I could never get it. So yeah, Aquatic Mine, long story short, is impossible as Mechless Tails, and believe you me, I tried. Oh, how I tried. I was thinking maybe if I could use this wheel and extend at the top of it and fly off the top, maybe I would have enough height to get up there, but then I would have another problem because, as you guys know, the pulleys don't exactly pull Tails up, they sort of just throw him forward. But I thought it was something worth trying. I spent a while doing this and eventually found out, yeah, this ain't gonna happen. And yeah, long story short, Aquatic Mine is just impossible as Mechless Tails. Or really anybody who can't climb, by the way. Next stage is Road 101. Literally nothing changes with this level, so we don't really have to talk about it, so we'll just move on. Moving on to Hidden Base. And this was the one level, well, at least the mech level, that I spent the most amount of time on. Is it beatable? Well, the short answer is yes. But is it easy? Hell no! In fact, this was the scariest level to go through as Mechless Tails. First off, you want to avoid falling into the sand. While you're in your mech, as you know, falling into the quicksand is instant death. But as Mechless Tails, you get a fate much worse than death. You just fall for all eternity and you have no choice but to restart. Because you'll just be falling forever in an endless black abyss. Forever. Since Mechless Tails doesn't have a Vulcan Cannon, he's going to have to fight over basically everything because he can't destroy the wooden doors and he also can't destroy the dynamite pack, so most of the obstacles in this level you're going to be flying over. This right here, by the way, is the perfect example of why doing this level is kind of scary. Since you're going ways that the game didn't anticipate you to go, the level is not going to load properly until you reach certain areas, and the camera is definitely not going to follow you. So you're going to spend a lot of time just flying blindly, hoping that you find some of the level, which once you get close enough, the camera will kind of snap to it and be like, hey, I'm supposed to be here, I'm supposed to be following you. Most of the time you can't go through doors like these ones here, you just have to fly around, although sometimes some of the walls are solid, as we're seeing with this building for some reason. and the camera won't follow tails anymore, and there's an invisible wall there that will just push you down, and you gotta restart. It's a good idea here to land and hit the spring that's tucked away down here, because you're gonna need all the height you can to get through the next part, because the next part is quite an obstacle. So once you reach the maximum height of your jump, or near the maximum height, start flying, and you should be able to fly over that no problem. It was here that I realized that going down the right side was stupid, so let's try going down the left side. So we went down the left side, and sure enough, I could go down there no problem. It was very simple. I could go down there. And then this happened, and this was the perfect example as to why this was the scariest level. Like, you don't even see the background though. You just see nothing but blackness, and you see the level above you, and you're thinking this whole time, oh shit, am I down too low? Do I have to restart again? But just stay true to yourself, keep going, don't let go of the A button, and just keep believing deep in your heart that everything is going to be okay. And then I realized I could fly through this wall, and then I came here that this area looked impossible, because you guys know how pulleys work with Mechless tails. They sort of just toss you forward, right? And you sort of just let go. But I noticed something interesting. As Mechless tails, if you grab onto a pulley while flying, it doesn't just toss you forward, but it also gives you a bit of a jump height. And I felt like I could take advantage of this. So what I'm trying to do here, by the way, is grab onto the pulley as flying tails, because it gives me height. But my plan was that before the pulley goes back down, to fly tails back into position, so that while the pulley is coming down, it can jump me up even higher, just like it did right there. And then, well, here I had to do it again, because, well, I had to get up there, you know, and the pulleys are the only way to do that. And this, invisible, well, not invisible, but this, platform-like thing was making it hard to do that. Because I kept getting tossed towards the platform, hitting the ceiling where I couldn't go up any higher. And this gave me some issues, a bit frustration. This was one of the most annoying sections, but it felt very, very doable. Like, it was working, and you know how stubborn I am. If something is working, I am going to keep trying it a few times, as you guys have noticed with this run. Here I tried something different. I thought I could probably land on that and give me the height I needed. I couldn't land on the platform, but I did get the height to get up to the door. But then I had a new problem. How am I going to get by? Finally, with the right amount of height, I was able to glitch through a wall and go on the level. And like I said, the camera is a real bitch. It doesn't always follow you. Right now, we're just watching a wall. Here, I was trying to see if I could get the camera to, you know, come and follow me. So I flew back a bit, hoping to get the camera to follow me. Again, the camera was a real bitch. And one of the things that, made this just so annoying for me. Like I said, it was so scary because the camera doesn't follow you, and sometimes like the level just doesn't load and you don't know if you're going the right way or the wrong way. Turned out I was going the wrong way, so I turned back and I saw the door, like the wooden door I was supposed to shoot down, be like, oh, I'm supposed to be going this way. So I went down that way, and you don't want to land like, anywhere around here because, as you know, you can't get past these wooden doors or the Sphinx boxes, like you can't destroy them. And I ended up self-fucking myself here, so I had to start over again. Oh, at this point, I was so freaking done with this level, I swear to God. I kind of wish I was doing this recording actually live, so that you guys could see my live frustration of my live, just like how I felt while doing this live. Like, I can't emulate it, like, I'm watching the footage back with you guys as I'm, like, saying this stuff, like, I'm going unscripted. I'm just basically watching the footage with you guys and just doing my commentary as watching it, and I'm telling you guys, I'm just feeling the pain all over again just watching this. Alright, so we're finally back to this part. As always, like I said, the camera's not always going to follow you. We're back here. This time I flew through here because I wasn't going to take any chances, and then I came across this section. This section with a lot of enemies, and as you guys know, this is the section where you find a lost Chow, and oh boy, it was like a all or nothing moment here. Like, if you miss this, things are not going to go well for you. But luckily, I didn't go through a worst case scenario. I was able to make it back up. And luckily I didn't have to do it again because there was a spring here that I could use. And you see those flags up there? That is where the goal ring is. We finally made it to the end. We see the goal. It is a little bit over grass, so we have to do a little bit of backtracking. Get ourselves back here. Hit that spring. And then there we go. We made it to the goal. We did it. So hidden base, was it doable? Yes. Was it a frustration? Hell yes. Was it scary? 1000% yes. Moving on to Pyramid Cave, and Pyramid Cave honestly wasn't exactly the worst thing to do as Mechless Tails. It's actually very, very doable, and for the most part, it's just doing it ordinary as you would with Sonic, except for instead of using the bounce, you would fly. But yeah, for the most part, there isn't too much to report here. It's just business as normal as you would with Sonic, you know? I was worried that these hourglasses weren't going to work as Tails because, well, you know, you don't get a homing attack or anything, but yeah, you can just jump on them to flip them. They are actually quite usable as Mechless Tails, and then, well, we came across a spring that bounces you into these pulleys, and you guys know how pulleys work. Unless you're flying, they sort of just throw you forward, so that was sort of annoying. And again, the camera was an issue. There were so many times with this pulley that I thought it bounced me up high enough to get me to where I need to go to continue with the stage. Turns out it didn't. It kept letting me over here where I couldn't see the camera, and then when I finally did get the camera in my view, I could see I was where the torches are. After a while I realized that wasn't happening. I noticed a little bit of the ramp, so I sort of just flew up to it, and sure enough the ramp was kind of going down, so just like always I could phase right through it and go on with the level. And then after that, for the most part, once again, it was back to normal, everyday business. Just doing the level as you know it would as a good old Sonic. Everything was going well and good with this level until we came to this part. Tails is not fast enough to run down this. Even if you do this perfectly where you don't get caught by a single ghost, Tails cannot get the speed to make it all the way to the end. And believe you me, I tried. Oh, did I try. I spent so much time here and I realized this wasn't happening. And it got to the point where I was like, no, it can't be. This can't be impossible. This level cannot be impossible as Mechless Tails. I figured this section was impossible because even when I was able to do this perfectly without getting captured, I still wasn't fast enough to get there in time. So at this point, I decided to try something different, so I did end up restarting the level. So this time after restarting the level, I was trying to see if there was a way like I could fly out of bounds like I did with Hidden Base. And while I was playing around with the flying during this half-pipe, I learned something very interesting that actually helped me out this run. And something that will make City Escape very, very possible. Remember, I told you, remember what I said about City Escape, that we will be coming back to that. And what I learned is that if you hold A, and then let go of A, and then quickly hold A again while you're descending, you can start flying again. Like you will start hovering in that spot again. This was a very neat discovery, and with this I felt like I wanted to try City Escape again, but while I was in this level I wanted to finish off this level first, so I kept going with this for a bit. But yeah, that was a very interesting discovery. Alright, so this part I took advantage of going a way that Sonic normally couldn't go, and I flew around the corner here, but to my surprise, for whatever reason, this wall here, this wall that is physically impossible for Sonic to touch, they have collision detection on it where I can't phase through it. I don't know why, but it's a thing. But as you fly down a little bit more, you can actually phase through the wall. And there I was literally outside of the bounds of the level, and this was great. This is what I wanted. I wanted to be out of bounds so I could bypass that part I was stuck at. And because of this, it was possible. So I was following the pipe from above, you know, the pipe that you normally have to run down. So I was taking advantage of the descending and then holding A again to regain my flight so I could keep track of where the pipe is. And I did my best to do this, avoid going back inbounds, because going back inbounds would be bad because as we know, Sonic could clear the pipe, but Tails without his mech can't. So I was just following this, until we got to the end of that long-ass tunnel. And it really is a long tunnel. You don't really realize it when you're inside of it, but when you're outside, oh boy, you realize that this thing is long. Especially when you're a slower character, like slower than Sonic. And here we kind of descended because well, a part of me wanted to do this though legit, but I knew that those things would make it hard for me, so I kind of kept my flight a little bit because I knew swinging on those things would be bad, so I took a bit of a shortcut here. And here is Sandy where I had to give up the flight because, well, there was a long loop that I had to run around, which, that was fine. I actually did want to start doing this level legit again, you know? This here gave me some issues. This is the one door that's kind of, well, fast. And it closes so fast that Tails is not going to get up there in time, no matter how hard you try. So I was thinking, oh no, don't tell me I came this far only to fail. No, this cannot be. So after 2 or 3 attempts, I realized this isn't happening. There's no way Tails can be fast enough. So I thought maybe if I fly around the sides, maybe it won't be an issue. And sure enough, it wasn't, because on the other side of that door was another loop. So I just flew around and I went around the loop. And that was all she wrote. With that being said, I am very happy to report that Pyramid Cave is 100% possible as Mechless Tails. I didn't think it would be, but it is. After learning the trick that I learned with Pyramid Cave, I decided to return to City Escape. Because now that I know that I can regain my flight, I knew that this was possible to do as Mechless Tails, and yeah, it was. So from here on, it was pretty much doing exactly what I did last time without getting scared. If I couldn't see any level, I would just descend a little bit until I could see the level, and then hold the A button again to start hovering from there. The biggest problem with this plan was the building. Like, I'm outbound, so I won't be triggering the loop, which is pretty good, but still, since I can't see the level from where I am, I don't know how low I have to fly to where I can continue following the level and still stay in bounds. So flying down this building was kind of scary. So here I just basically had to guesstimate how long I would descend, and then eventually I would stop my descent and just keep going. Like when I saw the buildings here, I knew that's where the stage was, so I would just follow the buildings. And from here I would just continue doing what I was doing, where I would follow the stage. I basically followed the building so I would stay out of bounds, because I don't want to go inbounds yet, because if I got stuck in bounds again, I would have the same problem I had last time where I couldn't get out of that bar, and then after that, that would kind of suck because I would have to restart again. No way do I want to spend more time here than I had to. Like, I spent the first 10 minutes of this video alone talking about this place. So here I flew back into bounds. I was at the part where the truck is normally following you, but since I kind of flew a bit too far, I didn't get to the part where the truck is chasing you, so it was just another normal stroll for Tails. The camera is acting weird because it expects you to be being followed and expects you to be going fast, which neither of those is happening. This part I noticed Big, and I decided to take a look at Big since nothing was following me, so I kind of went back to Big to see how he's doing, and surprisingly, it's not really a surprise that Big got crushed by the truck, because he's running in a spot. Like, he's literally not moving at all. And not only is he not moving, he's kind of in a place where you can't even go near him. Like, I wanted to walk up to him and say hello, but I couldn't approach him. So I just went on my way to complete the level, and long story short, like I said, City Escape is 100% possible as Mechless Tails. You kind of have to outbound yourself to do it, but it is possible. So I'm glad I learned that secret I did in Pyramid Cave, and I came back here. So we can change our stance on City Escape. Yes, it is possible. Death Chamber, on the other hand, is 100% impossible as Mechless Tails. You might get lucky where one of the keys will appear in this section, but yeah, this is impossible as Mechless Tails. You're literally trapped in this tiny area. You can't break the iron containers. You're not going anywhere. If you can get the 3 keys to appear in the 3 rooms you can visit, then I guess it's possible. I wasn't able to get that to happen. So Yeah, Death Chamber, I guess unless you have better RNG than me, this is impossible. Like, you literally can't go anywhere. Everywhere is blocked off with iron containers because this is the level where Knuckles is supposed to get those, so of course you're going to need them to navigate this area, so... Yeah. Sorry, Tails, but this Death Chamber is not the level for you. Speaking of impossible, I think it goes without saying that King Boom Boo is impossible to do as Mechless Tails. As you guys know, when it comes to fighting King Boom Boo, you have to dig him out while he's hiding in the shadows. Mechless Tails cannot dig, or really anybody who's not a treasure hunting character, by the way, cannot dig, so... Yeah, it goes without saying that as Mechless Tails, yeah, King Boom Boo was impossible. As you guys know, we have some bad luck when it came to bosses with Mechless Tails. Mechless Tails hasn't been able to beat a single boss. But I went into the Eggman with hope, hoping that there would be at least one boss that I could beat as Mechless Tails. And I figured the Eggman would be the boss since this boss doesn't really ask for much from Sonic. And you just go up a few platforms and hit the button on his head. And sure enough, I was able to hit him. This was the only boss in this game that actually was beatable as Mechless Tails. It's not exactly easy, like if you fall there's no recovery because you know how pulleys work for Mechless Tails. Either they fling you high or they don't do anything at all. But yeah, it's very possible as Mechless Tails. You just jump up the platforms on his back and use your tail attack to hit the button. It's very possible, and I was excited to see that there was actually a boss that I could beat as Mechless Tails. I never thought I would see the day, but Egg Golem, 100% possible. And this really just made my day with the whole challenge. Finally, a boss that we could beat. We go from something that is possible to something that is impossible. Tails' first and only level on the arc, Eternal Engine. So you start off with these beetles that you have to destroy to open the door. No problem, you can destroy them with your tail by flying into them. Which is very weird that that works on Badniks, but it didn't work on Bigfoot. But you know what? Whatever, right? We destroy those beetles, we move on, and most of the stage is really just destroy the enemies and the doors open. So it feels like that this might be possible, right? And well, it didn't take long for it to become impossible though. Because then you come here. You have to grab one of those pulleys to get up high, and then once you're up high, you have to go over to the other pulley. And I couldn't get these to work. Like, even if I did manage to touch one while I was descending, it would shoot me up, yes, but it would never shoot me up high enough, even if I did a trick where I would hit it a second time as it's coming down. And the guy dropping bombs didn't help either. And all these walls are solid, you can't fly through any of them, so we had to rule off Eternal Engine as impossible. However, this level being impossible didn't really ruin my mood any because I was coming off just beating a boss that as Mechless Tails, which up till this point the bosses were impossible. Meteor Herd, it didn't take me that long to realize that this stage was impossible. Why is this level impossible? Well, for starters, you can't get away from the ground section here. Like, the central platform and all the upper area you can't get to. Unless you can find the Master Emerald pieces down here on the floor, you're not going to be able to do this. You might get maybe one, maybe two pieces of the Master Emerald, but there's no way you're going to get three. I could only get one. I spent not even 10 minutes here. I was only here for a grand total of 5 minutes. Deemed that as impossible and moved on. After this was the Knuckles and Rouge fight. The Knuckles and Rouge fight isn't any different from our character fight. You get the glitchy Eggman, which, as you know, just crashes the game. So we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to move on. Crazy Gadget. This level I was hoping would be possible because I thought this level was going to be fun. Like, you know, especially at the end with the little block puzzle. I figured that would have been a lot of fun as Mechless Tails. But this level was impossible. In fact, you can't even get to that block puzzle as Mechless Tails. Like, you can do this part. Yeah, no problem. Artificial Chaos, you don't have to worry about him. You can just go back past him. You can't use the flipping mechanics because you can't pull levers. That's fine. Tails can just fly over the problems. I didn't have enough fight the first time, but with using one of the boxes that was conveniently laid out, it was possible to fly over that. And then you come here, and yeah, this is where it's impossible. You can destroy the artificial chaos by using the Omochao or by flying your tails into him. But once you destroy the artificial chaos, there's no way you can get up there. I tried using these cubes, like I thought maybe if I put them down and maybe stack them, I could get up there, but I can't stand on them. Like I couldn't even stand on the one, so I had a feeling I wouldn't be able to stack them. And even if I could, what would the point be? I can't get up high enough. I tried using these boxes, but because of the ceiling, it pushed me down. And I barely touched it there, or like I just touched just a little bit, but it wasn't exactly enough to give me the height I needed. I tried checking some earlier parts of the level to see if there was a way I could quip out of bounds, but there was nothing. Like everything is sealed off, and it pains me to say this because I thought this level was going to be fun, but yeah, Crazy Gadget is 100% impossible as Mechless Tails. You can't even get past this beginning section. Second Eggman versus Tails fight, you guys already know how this goes, so we're not going to talk about that and we'll move on. Final Rush, the final stage of the hero story, and I went into this stage thinking, you know what, this one's not so bad, surely it's beatable as Tails. Like, sure, Tails can't grind the railings, but the stage doesn't really demand much from Sonic, and Tails can't grind down the railings, sure, but he can fly over them. And yeah, sure, the camera's going to act a little bit weird because you're going ways that the game didn't anticipate you to go. But yeah, for the most part, this is pretty doable. Like, the stage doesn't really demand a whole lot from Sonic. It is a very nice final stage, and since it is mostly a going down stage, yeah, this wasn't too bad. You would just follow the stage as you normally would, and you would just fly over the railings instead of riding them, since Tails can't ride them. Everything was going great until I got to here. Yeah, remember how I said the stage was mostly going downhill? Well, welcome to the section that's going uphill, where you have to ride up railings and Tails can't grind up railings, so had a bit of a roadblock here. And here I'm just trying to fly around it, like maybe I can get to the other side. And there's an invisible wall there that pushes me down. So after that, I realized I'll restart, and this time I'll keep Tails a little bit higher up around that section, since, well, maybe there's a wall I can go through and I can outbalance myself maybe. Because the stage doesn't have a whole lot of ceilings, you know. This time I'm trying to stay a bit higher up and I'm flying towards the buildings, thinking that maybe I can fly through them and just bypass this section. Like, yeah, we're pretty high up, and I know people have broken this stage as Sonic, and I'm pretty sure not even Sonic can go up this high, so I'm guessing they wouldn't have coated the walls up here, so I was thinking maybe it'll work. Like, there's a slight chance it'll work. And yeah, just as I expected, you could fly right through the wall. And from here you can see the, you know, the tunnels that you normally go in once you choose one of the pipes to go down. I decided to follow the tunnels instead of dropping into them. And once again, this stage looked possible once again. That is until I landed and I came down here. There's a pulley that pulls Tails upwards, and as you know, pulleys act kind of weird for Tails. Unless you're flying, they don't do too much. So I used it to give me a little bit of height, and I tried to fly around seeing if I could find more of the stage. Had no luck. So after a few attempts, I used this pulley thing to lift me up, and I managed to pull off the trick to go up a bit higher. And I thought, okay, you know what? Let's just fly around this building and fly around until we find more of the stage. But flying down this way, you just reach a death point and you end up dying. Alright, so this time going into this section, I decided to be a bit smarter. I would phase through the building like I did last time, but this time I would not descend when we get to the tunnel, since the stage is about to do a whole lot of uphill. Here I'm descending a little bit because it seems that the stage has despawned, which is always a scary thing when that happens. And yeah, now the stage goes for a little bit of a going upturn, as you can see, but this time we can go up a bit. But there's a problem. I did descend a little bit too low, and yeah, once again we were back in a very problematic state. So I once again had no choice but to throw that life away and try again. Alright, this time I flew through the building, and I realized that last time maybe my mistake was descending so I could see the level. So this time I stayed up high, and I just kept flying forward. And it's our building just materialized, so I just flew right through it. And then we could see some more of the level over there. I stayed high and I moved towards it because I realized every time before where I started to descend, I had problems that made me restart because I need the height, you know. Because the stage isn't all downhill. It is just mostly going down. So I just followed the stage up till here where I found this spring on a meteorite, and from here it was back to going downhill. So it was back to normal everyday business where we just follow the railings. Everything was well and good until we got here to the end. We bounce off these to go up here, and then yeah, 3 wooden crates blocking the things, and as you know, Tails' spin attack can't break the crates, and I was heartbroken here and kind of frustrated. I was like, are you telling me I came all this way just for this to be impossible? I'm having trouble with artificial chaos because, well, you know how Tails attacks. But after a few tries, I was able to destroy it, and I went back desperately hoping that I could find an Omo Chow somewhere so I could break through those crates and finish the stage. Didn't have much luck. I was getting a bit discouraged, and like I said, I was heartbroken here. Like, I went through all this trouble just for the stage to be unbeatable. And then I found this random space cube that I could pick up. I never knew why that these existed in a level, and I still don't know why they exist, but I'm kind of glad they do because with the help of this space cube, I could break the crates. I had trouble jumping up, so I had to throw the cube up first and then have Tails go up and pick up the cube afterwards. But yeah, we can get the cube up here, no problem. And thanks to this trusty cube, we could break through these boxes and we could finish the stage. And then down here is a chase from this thing. This thing rubber bands, so really you don't have to worry about it. No matter how fast or how slow you go, it won't hurt you. And that is the end of Final Rush. So yeah, Final Rush is 100% beatable as Mechless Tails. It wasn't exactly easy. It took a lot of restarting and trying to fly high to fly through bounds, but yeah, it was beatable. And I'm actually glad we were able to end on a high note. Well, not exactly, because up next is the Shadow and Sonic fight. And as you guys know, we get Mechless Eggman instead of Shadow, and he just crashes the game. Unlike with the art character battles, though, it doesn't crash the game when you attack him or when he attacks. It crashes the game after it displays his name. And that is the end of the hero story. We still have the Dark and the last story to go through, but I've realized that this has been going on for too long, and I don't want to make this video like over an hour long, so I think I'm going to have to break it into parts. So I'm going to end this one here, and I'll do the Dark and the last story in the next video. So thank you guys for joining me. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and stay tuned for part 2. Have a nice day. Bye, everybody.